Hey, badass business owners. I want to share a conversation that I had last week because I think it's going to help some of you guys that feel stuck. Someone reached out to me, and the reason they did was because they have been running their business for about 5 years, if I recall. It's like 5 or 6, something like that. And they've kind of hit a plateau, and sales aren't really growing. They feel like they're not making any more money, but they're just feel like they have to work harder and harder each year to achieve the same thing that they were achieving before. And they wanted to see what kind of ideas I had and thoughts and whatnot. Now, you know me, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to want to see those P&Ls. I'm going to want to see what's been going on. Well, first, I was pleasantly surprised that they actually had some P&Ls. They didn't know they had P&Ls, but they had some P&Ls. They did have their tax person had been doing their books for them, and they just never looked at them. So we kind of had them dust them off. Let's get them. And when we were looking at them, one of the things that we started to look at is it's later in the year. So it's really nice because you can lay out the entire year when you look at it by month. So we started to lay it out by month so we could see trends of what was going on for the year. And then we could also look back at some history to kind of see what's going on with that growth and whatnot. So when we were looking at the year, one of the things that really stood out is the fact that they were not as profitable as they thought they were. You know, they over the years, they've accumulated a bank account and they keep it at a certain amount that feels comfortable for them. But what they didn't realize is that some months they weren't making any money at all. And it wasn't dawning on them because the account was kind of staying within the same range. And the good thing is they didn't have any debt. So they weren't, losing money through back-end debt or anything like that. But it just was that their pricing was definitely something that was standing out because they were breaking even more than anything. And they would have some months where they would have higher expenses than others, but it wasn't super crazy. And it really was quick to identify that, hey, look, it's not because he's throwing away money and losing money out that way. It was just the fact that their costs had gone up over the time and they didn't really change their sales. So when their costs were going up and they weren't changing their sales, it was eroding into that profit. And since they were breaking even or making just a little bit, it really wasn't making that big of an impact because they take a set amount out every single week. But he did kind of notice that it wasn't growing either, which is part of where that concern was coming in. Now, when we started to look at months over the previous year, so for example, we can compare July this year versus July last year, January this year versus January last year, and we started to look at some of that, what we could see was the sales were remaining about the same, but back then they were making more money. And once again, that's where costs come in because their cost of goods were growing. Their cost of goods were only about 46, 47%, something like that. And now they're like 53, 52, 53, 55. It just varied by month. And you can see that was eating up. So what started to happen is they were losing about 5% of their profit just because of the cost of goods going up and not making any changes to their sales. So obviously one of the strategies that we talked about is that they really need to look at their pricing and make those adjustments. And they just feel like they had the same customers. They didn't want to upset them. And I'm like, trust me, if you, and this is something I hear from a lot of you guys, is that no one's ever going to like their prices going up. I don't know a single time that somebody raised prices on me that I was happy. Now, if I was happy with their service and I loved what they did, I would, you know what, I'd moan and groan, but I'd get over it. I understand that costs are going up. I think most people do. No one's ever going to be excited about their prices going up. But at the same time, can you afford to do your jobs and make no money? Why are you working so hard to make nothing? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And can I promise you you're not going to lose anybody? No, of course I can't promise you that. But I can tell you that if you're doing a job making no money and you raise the price and now you can make at least $5, if you lose somebody, but you gain someone or one of your other people are paying the extra $5, you've already made more money than you were making helping the one person that you lost. Listen, if somebody is going to fire you, quote unquote, over you raising your prices $5, trust me, they were just looking for a reason to leave. They were already on the bubble. Maybe their budget was already tight, and that just gave them permission for themselves to go ahead and let it go. And if you're that worried about losing somebody, you can make an exception for one person or two people. But what you can't make an exception for are all of the people. You know what? If you want to leave your existing base at where they're at and then take all new people at a higher price because it bothers you that bad, then at least do that. But so many people don't want to raise their prices. And I get it. We don't want to hurt the next people, or we think that we're not going to get as many people. You really have to look at the numbers side of it, because it's about the fact that you can lose people and still make more money. If I'm making $5 on 10 people, that's $50. But if I make $10 on 5 people, that's the same $50. So you could lose half your people and make the same amount of money. Then you replace the new people with the people making $10. And next thing you know, now you've made an extra $50 that you weren't making before you lost those people that you were upset that you lost. Hopefully that makes some sense. I'm trying to do it as easy math. I know that's hard to do when you're listening and you're not with your pen and pencil at the same time. But ultimately, one of the things this person needed to do was to look at those prices. Now, that may not be all of you. For some of you may find that you're doing fine when it comes to pricing and your sales are just stuck. So what do you do? Well, the first thing you need to remember is sales come from one of 3 avenues. You can get new customers. That's 1. You can get your existing customers to come back more often. That's 2. And 3rd is your ticket, your average ticket, how much they're spending when they're in you're using your business, right? Whether it's retail or if it's a service-based business. Now, the example we just went over is somebody that needed to raise their prices. They had an average ticket problem, is what they were doing. Do they need to go after new customers and repeat people? Yeah, they do. But like I mentioned, they were already burning the candle at both ends. They really couldn't afford to take on any more people without having to hire somebody and everything else. They were looking for something that they could do in that moment. And the number one thing was going to be pricing. They had to get people to spend more money. Now, they can get people to spend more money 2 ways, right? One is to raise the prices, and the other way is they can look at add-on items, or, can they get them to add another service? What could they do to get that average ticket up? That's another way that they could have went as well. And that's a great way for somebody to look at if they really can't afford to take on, from a time standpoint or resource standpoint, more people, is you've got to look at how do you get people to spend more money. That's one way you can make more money. Now, for those of you that are in the boat where you're looking for new people, right, you got to ask yourself, how can I get new people in? And that's where a lot of people turn to Facebook ads, Google ads, flyers, networking, all those different things. You can create a list that's like 100 long of different things that you can do to try to get new people in. And you probably remember those days. Usually it's your first year in business. You're throwing everything at the wall to try to get in new customers. And then the next way is, how do you get them back more often? And I want to talk about that one for a second, because I think that's the most unused way to grow your sales. And most people don't, and I've been guilty as well in my past. And even to this day, I probably am as guilty of it. And that is, how do we get people that have used us in the past to use us again, to use us more often, or to recommend us to other people to create those new people? But really, it's the old people that we are tapping into to be able to create that. And what happens is, it's kind of like this once and done. Somebody uses our business and they go back into the wild. And you have to ask yourself, what system do you have in place to follow up with them? A lot of you get emails nowadays, right? It seems to be the thing. When was the last time you went into that email database that you've been collecting through the years and just reached out to them? Maybe you have a service that they can use once a year or every 3 years or whatever it is. When was the last time? What do you have in place to follow up with those people? And by the way, this is something that I talked about with this business owner, because they did have a bunch of emails that they were not tapping into. And he's been in business for 5 years. All he's got to do is create a system to go back to as many of those people from the past and see about how he can get them on the calendar to use his service again. And you have to ask yourself the same thing. When was the last time you reached out to somebody and you said, hey, it's been X amount of time, have you thought about redoing the service? It really just depends what it is, right? If it's a retail business and you happen to have emails, you could throw a special at them that they could get them back into it. But for most service-based businesses, you have a window when somebody would use you again. Or maybe they wouldn't use you, but they know somebody that would. All of a sudden what popped in my head for some reason is glass repair. So let's just say you repair windows Right. And usually people reach out to you because they have a cracked glass window or something like that they need to get done. But you could reach out to people and just say, hey, just checking on your window needs if you have any broken windows. But more importantly, do you know someone who's driving around with a window that's cracked and they haven't gotten it fixed yet? By the way, for those of you on podcasts, I'm raising my hand right now because my window has been cracked across the side forever. And because it doesn't bother me because I don't see it, I haven't dealt with it and I need to deal with it. Matter of fact, it's on my list this week. But, there's people that know people that would probably need your service and they could probably recommend you or something like that and just say, hey, you know what? My person who changed my glass a few years ago just sent me this coupon that if you want to change your glass, I can give you the coupon that they gave me, whatever. So just be creative within your own world of what is something that you could do to tap into these people from your past to get them to use you again. If you have a weekly service or yearly or every 6 months or whatever, they're easy to check out. I've always used the example of carpet cleaning. Most people were going into carpet cleaning peak season. People get their homes cleaned right before their family, especially their in-laws, come over. They'll get their carpets cleaned before the holiday season, and carpet cleaning tends to jump up in October, November for people getting their place ready. So it's a perfect time to reach out to people to say, hey, we did this last year for you. Can we get you on the schedule for this year so we can do the same thing? Or maybe it's every 6 months, or maybe you reached out to a bunch of realtors and every time somebody goes on the market, you reach out to them about getting their carpets cleaned, because most people who put their houses on the market need to get their carpets cleaned. So if you can tap into some people that do that, or maybe it's maintenance people or property managers because they got to get the carpets cleaned every time someone goes in. So I'm just riffing off the top of my head when it comes to carpet cleaning for some reason. But I want you to always think that if you're stagnant and you're stuck and your business isn't growing, use the numbers to kind of see what's going on first and foremost so you can put the best plan together of what it is you need. Because sometimes we think we need something. So for example, go back to the original business owner I was talking about. If we would have just focused on getting new customers and just getting new customers, he would have missed the entire point of looking at the numbers and discovering that he had a problem when it came to his profits, and he needed to fix the profit problem before he ran and got more customers. Because had he not fixed the profit problem, yes, he would have gotten more customers, and he still would not have been making any more money. He would have been working longer hours, harder hours, but not making any more money. But he's going to be like, wow, my sales are going up, but my profits aren't going up. Yes, because he had a profit problem first, then he had a sales problem. And for some of you, you have that exact same problem. You can work your tail off. You can go out and get as many customers as you want. But if you don't fix the profit problem first, it's not going to help you. Remember, it's a profit game. Sales are a vanity metric, okay? It's great to say you made $1 million, but if you made $1 million and you only made $50,000, give me $500,000 all day long, making $100,000. I'll take it all day long. You know what? It does. Working smarter and getting that crazy sales line doesn't mean anything if it's not profitable. Now, I'm not telling you not to go for $1 million in sales. What I'm telling you is to make sure they're profitable sales that you're going after, and not just going after, the sales that I need more customers. I need more customers. I need more customers. No, what you need are profitable sales. So look at those prices, look at those add-ons. How can you get that average ticket up? How can you get those people that you've serviced in the past to come back more often? What can you do to tap into that market? And yes, go after those new people all day long. But you got to figure out where your business is today and what is needed most to be able to create that jumpstart that you need, because your business is stuck. Because if your business is stuck, it's stuck for a reason. Either you've ran out of time, right? You ran out of resources, ran out of energy. You just don't want to do it. And you're just like, I don't know. You got to use the numbers. I promise you, it will create ideas that'll get you excited about your business again and point you in the direction that you need to go. And don't forget that if you want to learn more about your business numbers, you can check out any of the videos that I have here on YouTube. I've got a affordable course that's going to teach you how to read your business numbers because, like I said, a bunch of you have your numbers already available to you. You just never open up the package. You never look at them. And if you need bookkeeping services, we can talk about that too. But at the end of the day, the numbers are going to guide you on how to grow your sales, but more importantly, grow those profits. All right, with that, I'm out of here and I will talk to you next time. Bye for now.